Hi everyone, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about academic honesty in our course. I think it's important that everyone is very clear and that there are no questions regarding what we consider dishonest and inappropriate work in the lab. This has been prompted by a recent increase in some what I would often consider inadvertent dishonesty. I don't know that students are maliciously trying to cheat or to plagiarize, but it's been occurring, and we've also had some flags from the testing center for the large bulk actually of the class from the first exam. So I do want to just go over these points to make sure we're all clear and that there is an understanding. You will be responsible for the information in this video. So let's start first by just reviewing what it says in the syllabus about academic honesty. As followers of Christ, all BYU Idaho students, staff, and faculty are expected to be honest in all their dealings. This also applies and extends to behavior and actions related to academic work. It is critical for students to understand the seriousness of academic dishonesty and misconduct, which are not tolerated by the university, and strive to produce and submit only the results of their own effort and original work. There are other forms of academic dishonesty besides cheating and plagiarism. Please read through the statement and examples below. This is not an all-inclusive list, but a sample of what is considered dishonest, including sharing course quiz questions with online quiz and testing sites. I will divert here from the syllabus a little bit and let you know that we know that students have done, have submitted the Quizlets, have submitted things in various websites, not all encompassing, but including Quizlet and StudyBlue and Chegg and Course Hero. So it's telling you that you should not share quiz questions. Your worksheets are considered quizzes, by the way, but you should not be sharing questions from any online quiz, worksheet, or exam with any of these types of sites. And I know, like I said, we know they're out there. When we catch them, we do report them. So please understand that that is considered a form of academic dishonesty. Inadvertent plagiarism involves this is back to the syllabus. Inadvertent plagiarism involves the inappropriate but not deliberate use of another's words, ideas, or data without proper attribution, which could also mean citation, although it is not a although not a violation of the Honor Code, it is a form of academic misconduct for which an instructor can impose appropriate academic sanctions. In addition, continuing work on an exam or assignment after the time has elapsed, submitting the same work for more than one class without disclosure and approval, using unauthorized materials during an exam or while completing an assignment, collaborating on an exam or an assignment without authorization, obtaining or providing to another student a test or answers to a test, and I would include quiz, that has not been administered to that original student, okay, or to that student. All right, in addition, we also talk about personal honor, and I'm not going to read through this, but just know the principles of personal honor are in the syllabus, and part of that is to be true at all times. I want you to think about that as you continue in courses, and not just here, but in your lives as well. It's important that you strive to follow those principles and during your time here at BYU Idaho, but also out in the real world. There are three factors that we need to talk about. First is lab anatomy. We went through this earlier in the semester, but let me just reiterate that you all signed, and you should have all signed, an agreement for SOMSO, that we won't share those images outside of the course. You shouldn't be downloading those or putting them in a Quizlet, even if it's private. You really could still be held liable if they decide to pursue action. So you signed that agreement that you wouldn't share those and that you wouldn't use them outside of the course. To that end, because we're trying to be a little bit more stringent, for the next exam you won't see anything in the exam review, any of those images in the PowerPoint exam reviews that we provide that Jocelyn will actually post. And so we've actually even removed those just because they're PowerPoint presentations and they could still be downloaded even though we're trying to use them in course. So please use the flashcards that we currently have, or review in the course itself, but don't do it outside of the course. And remember that your PowerPoints for review need to have outside images. Okay, and that's part of that reason too. Secondly, we have worksheets. Now, in the syllabus, it states this about your worksheets and your responses. All responses must be in your own words. Do not copy an answer from an online source unless it is cited, and only use a quote for a portion of your explanation. In addition, while group work is encouraged, do not use the same wording for your answer as your partner. Failure to follow these guidelines is considered academic dishonesty. This is one I do need to spend a little bit more time talking about. And that is that I need you to understand that citations are essential to protect yourself from being accused of plagiarism, from protecting yourself from actually plagiarizing, and also so that we know what part of the answer is actually your own words in your own work. I think some students try to justify plagiarism by stating that it's part of their research. They just used a little bit or change one or two words, but they're not. If you're not citing it, it is considered someone else's work, and so it is considered plagiarism, which is a form of cheating. So do not use the text. Do not use any online source or any paper source that you may have, even if it's an old reference text. Don't use that word for word, and certainly don't just change one or two words and think it's going to be okay. So you always need to cite something like that, especially if you're using an online resource. I want to see the URL. We currently are only giving zeros for those questions that show copy and paste type answers or copy and change one or two word type answers, but in the future moving forward, the whole worksheet will be given a 0 if we continue to see plagiarism on the worksheet, and that means using somebody else's words without proper citation and using it for your whole answer instead of using your own words as part of the explanation. The couple of worksheets coming up, there is more room, I guess you could say, for people to also copy and paste answers from other sources, so be very careful. And I do not want to see any of the sites that were previously mentioned or any of them like unto them as your citation source. So don't use Quizlet, don't use StudyBlue, don't use Chegg, don't use Coursera or anything like that as a citation, because that's not really a proper, legitimate source. Scientific American, if you find a published paper from PubMed, things like that, those are okay sources. If you have a question or a concern about this information you're finding online to help you with your worksheet, you are welcome to reach out to Jocelyn or myself and ask, is this okay? Is it appropriate that I use this? Or I found this information and I'm not quite sure if this is one of those sites you were talking about. We are happy to help you with that. Okay? So please keep that in mind as you move forward with the worksheets. Finally, the exam. So for the first time, the Testing Center had indicated that this class, for the most part, and I don't know if it's just not paying attention or just trying to hurry and submit, but the majority, they said, did not show their scratch paper at the end and tearing it up. And I did have a couple people email me and let me know, and that's fine. I appreciate that you did that right away. But you do need to show your paper beforehand if you're going to use scratch paper, and then you need to make sure you tear it up before you submit your exams before Proctorio finishes, so that we know that you have not been copying answers and that you've torn up what you've used, okay? Let me just quickly tell you a couple other things to remind you. You have to have all browser tabs closed except for the test itself. The Proctorio actually can tell if you have other tabs open. You are to turn off all electronic devices, the cell phone, that type of thing, or remove them from the room. So you must stay in the exam. Once you start the exam, you should not be leaving. You should not be using headphones or earbuds. You should not take a phone call. You should not have other people come in. Okay? You should not have any other windows open other than that exam. You should not access any outside resources. Keep your eyes engaged with the computer screen. And all these are on your instructions for the exam. But Proctorio also can notice when you're moving your eyes off screen. And in fact, it can even pay attention to your eye movement off screen to see if you're reading something. And I've seen some of those flags come through. Once again, I try to give you the benefit of the doubt, but if your exam's flagged, I'm going to let you know, and then we'll see what happens with the next exam. If the same thing happens, then that might be more of a concern. But the testing center does review all Proctorio exam recordings. Proctorio does flag certain ones, and the testing center does also follow up on those. And anything that's considered suspicious behavior, I get an email. Please pay attention to making sure that you're alert and attentive to your exam, that you're not looking down, that you're not reading a lot. Better not be reading a lot, since you're not supposed to have any outside sources other than a blank scratch paper just to help you jot things down, or maybe do a couple little calculations that that are easy peasy type ones. Anyway, you also cannot change your webcam or do other things so that they can't see you take the test, because that's considered suspicious behavior and may earn a 0 on the exam. Okay, talked enough. I just want you to know that I do care about you and your success, not just in this class, but overall with your educational career. And really, academic honesty is an important big deal. And I want you to know that you can graduate and feel like you did your best and you did your own work. And that's a wonderful feeling, even if it's not necessarily the grade you have. It's important that you understand that it's the grade that you earned and feel good about the fact that you did your own work. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and you can now work on your worksheet.